Every single year, we have an astrological new year that starts on March the 20th this year. Sometimes it's on the 19th, and it tells us what is going to be happening in the world based on the location in which you reside. So we'll be talking about the Washington, D.C. chart and what it may portend for the United States of America in the year ahead based on the ingress of the sun to 0 degrees of Aries. And it's a very accurate chart. I remember casting that chart for the pre-election year in April of 2024 and declaring from that chart that Biden would step down, that he would not run for office. Okay, I did that in March of 2024. So we're going to be talking about world politics as it comes through the sky in this chart, vis-a-vis Washington, D.C. as well. Second thing we're going to do is talk about your sign. What might it mean for you as a big theme of 2025, basically, spring to 26 spring. And I can do that for you today. So we'll be looking at your sign, and I'll give you what I think are the highlight energies, particularly where that moon is falling. The moon is falling in Sagittarius, and it's pretty close to the asteroid Juno. And we'll be talking about how partnerships, agreements, vows are going to matter to everybody to some degree emotionally as we move through the year ahead. Now, I wanted to share, it is the spring. Don't you love it? And these are my Venus altar flowers. And I just have to say, whatever this is, someone told me it's hyacinth. It smells amazing. I literally keep carrying this thing around me everywhere I go in the house, because who doesn't need the fragrance of spring in your life? So guys, I'm not going to spend a long time here today. This video is being recorded for Patreon on Monday, March 17th. Happy St. Patty's Day. This will be about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, no longer. Please understand, when I look at the astrology and I'm talking about world events based on astrology, it's not my political or personal preferences or opinions. I'm sharing the likelihood of something happening based on the sky. And again, that is a likelihood, not a certitude, right? So for a long time, I've been concerned that Donald Trump is in harm's way still, picked up again, like off the Leo eclipse that we just had, Leo full moon square Uranus that we just had, and it doesn't look so great for him for many reasons. So I still am concerned that his health may be in jeopardy, or his unaliving may be a storyline between now and May. That doesn't mean I don't like him, or I'm hating on him, or I'm being mean. I'm talking about the same thing I said, that, hey, Biden looks like he's not going to make it to the election. So similarly, it's just astrology. It's not me and my politics. I'm Canadian. Yay me. And I don't vote in the United States anyway. So take a chill pill, guys. And I'm doing United States politics because I'm a North American woman and it's my priority. They're the people next door. So if you can follow a European astrologer, they'll talk a lot about wherever you guys live. So I'm next to the United States. I also have covered the election in Canada. I said that actively and accurately predicted from the astrology that Mark Carney would be the contender for the upcoming election, that he would replace the resigned Trudeau, and he did. And so we'll have the election. It's looking closer than I prefer, because I really don't like the Liberal policies at this point. That is a bias, but we'll see what happens. I still think that the Conservatives will squeak by. And so we'll be covering that as the election draws near. They haven't called the election yet. So I do Canadian politics, I do American politics, I do world events around wars. All right. Let's talk astrology. I'm going to share the sky with you. And if you like this kind of stuff, hey, welcome. Lori Lothian, Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology, whole sign houses, fixed stars, and minor asteroids. And I am using a few minor asteroids today. Yes, I am. I'm using Deucalion, which is like Noah, Typhon, which is sea storms. If there's one thing I can predict about the United States in the next calendar year of March of this year to next year, 25 to 26, is going to be either hurricanes, floods, or huge storms involving water, coastal areas, including earthquakes and tsunamis. This is in the chart for the United States of America based on the national capital. When you look at your solar ingress chart, you can look for the state, but you will pick the capital city of the state. You can look for the capital city of your country. So I would pick Ottawa for my country. And you get the vibe of the gist of the vibe of what's going to happen for you in the next year ahead based on where you're living or for the country or state in which you live. All right. So I'm going to show you the chart. I had horrible sleep last night. I thought maybe I have vocal cord strain, but I still think I'm coming down with something. And I actually think I got COVID for the 4th time or something. I am did not take any procedures during the pandemic to mitigate getting COVID. So I think I've got a mild case that I'm still sort of on the other end of. So excuse me if my voice sounds weird because I keep clearing my throat for the last few days now. Okay, so let's take a look at the chart. And I am going to show you the sky. And we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to move into your sign. So this is Washington, D.C., March 20th at 5:02 a.m. in the morning. Why? The sun is at 0 degrees right there. This is the solar ingress into Aries. It's a seasonal narrative to do with light and dark. That's the cosmology of Western tropical zodiac astrology. It's a symbolic sky, but it's oddly accurate and allows us to make accurate predictions and forecasts. And so when the sun has entered into Aries, now we begin another 12-month story. It is the astrological new year. Happy astrological new year for everybody. And you'll notice that a few things are happening in this chart in Washington, D.C. Some of you understand that Washington, D.C., by the way, is a Sagittarius rising at 12 degrees. And this is where the United States rising sign would be, right here. Now, the thing about that is that the moon is here as well, and that's the people. The moon represents the people of a country in this type of chart. So the people are aligned with the identity of the nation of the United States. That's all that means. They're aligned with the identity of the nation of the United States. And there is a bit of intense emotional energy here as well, only because we see this particular asteroid right here. And we're going to talk about this because this is one that brings into our lives a huge amount of emotional intensity. I guess that would be a good word about it. And I'm going to read this to you and talk about how you, as an American living in the United States with your country, might feel. This is called Ceto. And Ceto is a ocean goddess that was about the personifications of the dangers of the ocean, the dangers of the sea. All right, so sea creatures and sea monsters, okay, and dragons were her children. I mean, seriously, sea monsters were her children. Vipers and the Gorgon, including Medusa, okay, were her children, and things that are under the sea. So there's a feeling that it's what you can't see under the dark surface that you are afraid of. What monsters, real or imagined, that you need to face up to, or maybe not, maybe run away from. And in this regard, there's a lot of intense emotion and feeling about the fear of something going on in the next year in the United States of America, probably for its people, because that is the moon. This is also a moon that happens to be in a very powerful state of flow to the fifth house of the United States, which is the third house in this chart. The fifth house can represent what brings us pleasure, fun, and joy and play. And there may be the fun things in life, right? The good things in life, your backyard barbecue, your martinis, your enjoyment of life. Well, in essence, that's a little bit of a problem, perhaps. Maybe there's going to be less frivolous enjoyment of life. Maybe economically, that's not the thing. People aren't out there just partying away and spending money. Why? Because Venus is invisible. Even though she's trining the people, she's invisible. She's called combust the sun, and she's also retrograde. As so well as Mercury combusts the sun, burning up in the beams of the sun, and is also retrograde. There's going to be delays, holdbacks, and setbacks in enjoyment and fun and play and pleasure. At some point that turns around because, of course, Venus and Mercury will go into the heart of the sun and turn that story around. So I'd say there's a turnaround story around play, fun, joy, and pleasure in the United States of America as the third house overlaps the fifth house of the Sibley chart. This also could mean, by the way, with this third house stellium, there's like Venus is the goddess of leisure travel here, and Mercury is the god of commerce. So your Airbnbs and your hotels and your fun journeys and trips for frivolous fun and pleasurable activity. Leisure travel may be curtailed, mostly maybe because people are anxious about economic hardship, and people they're tightening their pocketbooks around spending and leisure and play and travel, etc. Even local neighborhoods and pubs and restaurants, business will be down, perhaps. But because Venus and Mercury are going to turn around, right? That means it will go away. There'll be a diminishment, a darkening, and an invisibility of those things, and then a turning around. So there will be a turnaround story as well. So rest easy, my American friends. I talked about the energy of storms and turbulence. Why? Because Mars is in the sign of his fall in the Cancer swimming pool. He's talking to this midheaven up here, and the asteroids are important. This is Typhon, Typhon, typhoon. So just think typhoon, but it's actually also sea monsters and creepy things under the sea that are destructive. So it's a storm giant described in mythology as a destructive hurricane, and he had winged eyes and flashes of fire, and pretty scary stuff, right? So you can look at him as doing battle with monsters and all that stuff, but I think it's quite literal myself. So where Typhon sits is in the height of the sky, at the top of the sky, but also in the 8th house of the Sibley chart. Therefore, stock markets, banking, and bank industries are in stormy waters. It's just a literal stormy waters for the banking industry, for the economy. But again, there's a sense of this going downhill and then turning around by the end of the year. That's my prediction. And there are literal storms, but just because it's Scorpio water with Typhon in there. There's Mars fallen in the Cancer swimming pool, and then there's Saturn, the god of hardship, and the North Node to extend the hardship, to expand it with Neptune, the god of the seas. So basically, tsunamis, hurricanes, flooding are really good examples of this storyline. Possibly with Mars and Cancer, droughts as well. So it's just like a lot of climate stuff is going to be really intense in the United States this year. My humble opinion. United States is acting like a Aquarius rising, but Apollo is on the ascendant. Apollo is a sun god, which represents leadership energy. The leadership energy is in the press room. Yes, it's that new press girl. What's her name? In the United States, but it's not just that. It's Donald Trump. Third house is social media, get in front of the cameras, because the third house of the United States Sibley chart is overlapping with the Apollo, the sun god on the ascendant, right? So it's like leaders of the United States, particularly the president, Apollo meaning like the top dog energy, getting in front of the cameras and doing a lot of press junkets and conferences. Now, Oval Office press meetings, the whole thing, that's been going on already. I mean, Biden, no one ever saw Biden ever, and now Trump's never not on the cameras. But, from one extreme to the other, so it seems. So there's a lot more of that going on as well. Technically, this categorical 8th house can represent the economy of the country as well, the banking industry, with the South Node there for the United States on this chart. Again, a depreciation or declining of success in the economy, the stock markets, that kind of thing. Does it last? Probably not. The North Node is in the house of the coffers of the country, which are expanding and growing, steadfast and sure over time, Saturn. So there's a general increase of the financial well-being of the country, probably deficit reduction, but there still may be economic hardship in the collective, for sure. Finally, the South Node is in the house of the leader of the United States. In this case, it's Trump and his executive office. And South Node means loss or diminishment. Without saying for the 100th time, again, South Node can be the loss or diminishment of the leader of a country. In this case, the South Node is with the 10th house of the leader of the United States. So again, I repeated the same story 100 times. Once again, Trump may be in physiological harm's way, biological, physiological safety, because his ascendant is a Leo rising and the South Node is in the 2nd house. If I was his personal astrology advisor, I tell him to beware poisons. They beware the Ides of poisons. What he ingests or what comes into contact with his nose or mouth could cause health challenges in this chart. Finally, I've got a couple other asteroids for everyone to ponder, right? This is, I cannot say it. Dziewanna. I'm going to read Dziewanna to you because it's on the high noon. This is a reputation of the nation, and it's also its leaders. So this is a Slavic goddess of animals, hunting, and forests, and her name actually means mullein, which is a plant that has great healing properties and that thrives in poor soil. She's like Diana, the huntress, apparently, and the Roman god, the huntress Diana, and the Greek god Artemis, same energy, the huntress. And basically, it's about healing properties and the potential. The software will say, using available resources for healing. Well, make America healthy again. That could be exactly what that's about. Simple enough, right? Well, how about this one? Deucalion is Noah, like the floods of Noah. So again, flooding, right? This is like the son of Prometheus. Zeus destroyed life on earth with a flood of anger, and Deucalion was told by his dad what was to happen and that he should build an ark to survive and then repopulate the earth after. So the software will say things like building a whole new world, need to put the past behind you, hope for a better plan and a better tomorrow. If we take it literally, okay, then we're also looking at having to rebuild after a hurricane, a typhoon, a cyclone, a storm of some sort. I don't think this is just the tornadoes, right? The tornadoes, yes, they're like a hurricane, but we see so much water in this chart that I'm going to say it is water hardship, storm, climate hardship as well coming into the United States. Uranus is what shocks us and surprises us. And this is Hephaestus, the armorer of the gods, the one who created the thunderbolts for Zeus and represents, in general, weaponry. But in this chart, it's in the fourth house of the home and homeland of the Ingress chart. And so it's infighting within the country. I hope that's what I'm seeing. Perhaps that's what that means. A lot of thunderbolts of disagreement within the United States itself and its people. That's probably what that is. I just had a thought. I'm going to check my microphone. My microphone and I have not been getting along. Hope it's plugged in. And finally, next to Uranus and the thunderbolts of Zeus, which happen to exist, by the way, in the United States chart in the labor markets. So the six houses of the US chart is the labor market. So there may be protests or thunderbolts of disagreement amongst United States worker class people with what's going on. And then therefore you could say that's where the thunderbolts are flying. This is Aesculapia, asteroid number 1027 with Uranus, shock and awe, the grandson of Jupiter, god of medicine. Okay. Basically it's about rescue from the edge of death, resurrection and rebirth, health and health concerns and medical procedures. I guess I could say there could be some surprising and shocking developments to do with health and health matters and health care that are very fundamentally at the bottom of the chart, the home and homeland of this particular sky, but also connected to the sixth house of the United States Sibley chart, which is the worker and worker class. So it could be positive, it could be negative with Hygeia, the daughter of Aesculapia here, and some surprises. There may be some very strong developments with a cure for something by a United States scientists, like a cure for an illness or disease. That would be the most positive thing I can think of for what that could look like for sure. So there's some of my thoughts about what's happening here, knowing that Venus and Mercury are invisible, things to do with of currency and money, including the US dollar, and also the markets with Mercury are in contraction, retraction, invisibility, or difficulty under the beams of the sun. However, knowing that they will be coming into a turnaround story into direct motion at the end of this game. In fact, Venus will be coming into her perfect cazimi 2 days after the ingress. Then we're talking about some kind of darkening and lightening or invisibility and turnaround story. So certainly currencies, including the US dollar, may suffer in the short term, but over the long term, things will probably work out. Manwe, the elf god, is here, the king of the elves with the sun in that third house of this chart. That's the press corps, that's the media in general for a national chart like this. That's things that are going on in the media world. Manwe is a good guy. Manwe is, a good elf. He was a fictional character in Tolkien's writing, and he basically has the eagle as his symbol. So it's about truths to guide you and a glimpse, and trying to glimpse or see clearly and objectively the larger picture. A lord of the air, wind, clouds, birds were his servants. Okay, servant. So we have a kind of a noble elf energy sitting with the sun. The sun just represents leadership. And yet in this particular chart, it's the third house. And in the US chart, it's the house of celebrities and entertainers as well. So there may be some interesting developments with the celebrity world with Chiron there. We all know about the P. Diddy story. We might be seeing that coming back into the narrative as it goes to court. And the wounded celebrity story may be very big as well. A particular wounded celebrity around Venus matters, which is sexuality and romantic and that kind of stuff coming into the narrative is a big deal. Like, it kind of reminds me of the actual if the glove fits thingy trial, the football player and his wife. Oh my God. Anyway, I think there's going to be a lot of public attention, like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, to a celebrity trial situation and a lot of media coverage. I can only think it's Sean Combs, P. Diddy. I can only think that's what it probably is with his freakouts and stuff like that. That's my guess. Of course, we have also the trial probably coming up. I don't know if it's going to be publicly done with Balduni and Blake Lively over her contention he was inappropriate on set during the love scene. So there's those kinds of vibes for celebrity trials and big media coverage. We can all escape our woes by watching a soap opera on trial. That's what it feels like. Okay, that's my vibe. Donald Trump's ascendant on the descendant of the chart in the setting place as a general principle is not a positive omen again for his well-being. All right, that's all I'll say. Now that's all I got. I'm not going to do anything else about world events right now. I have talked a lot in the past about certain things, and I do want to mention that Venus is quite capable of bringing peace, which is going to be born as a morning star. And based on my Substack article, I do predict problems with Iran in the next year based on the Venus story and her 9 months ahead. She's going to be a warrior morning star through to next January. And she's looking to pick a fight where at the same time we are closing down the Ukraine-Russian war. There's no doubt about it. When the Ukraine-Russian war started and when the war in the Middle East started, under both of those circumstances, Venus was traveling through the sky for those 9 months as the wars began in her morning star mode. Venus in a morning star is a provoker of war. And so because she'll be a morning star again, it's not going to re-provoke those wars. Those are closing down. Those are over now. They came off of certain eclipses that are finished, but rather, unfortunately, the Middle East and Iran may be in the mix again because of somewhere, somehow, some way, she's provoking more war is what I'm trying to say. Alrighty. Can we just get over the words already? We're going to do your sign. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's a beautiful sunny day in Vancouver on a Monday the 17th, and I want to get a little bit of sun here today. So let's get this show on the road. And I'm having what I would call a new shampoo day. People are so sweet. Oh, I love your hair. You got great hair. I do. This is natural. I have not dyed my hair. This is some gray coming in, but I'm telling you, and it turns this color in the sun. This is neat, my natural hair color. But I'm having a Venus hair moment. Want to get it fixed, but Venus is invisible, so I won't do it. But have you ever noticed you try a new shampoo conditioner set? And I did. And this is just the most frizzy shampoo conditioner. Oh, all right, guys. All right, let's get rolling. We're going to start with Aries. My focal point is that you got a Sag moon lighting the sky up. The moon is the most important thing for the everyday Joe about how we feel about and receive the energies of the astrological new year. So let's start off with Aries and we'll spin the dial and move through the chart in a pithy and fast manner. Please go watch my Venus video that came out on Monday. I'm recording this today, but on Thursday, you'll see this one. Why do you want to watch it? Please do. You want to watch it because it's important. It's about Venus going into the heart of the sun on Thursday, the day you're watching this video, or the day this video comes out on the 22nd. And it's going to, on the 20th, I'm sorry. Venus goes into the heart of the sun on the 22nd. And the Monday video covers that. Please watch it because it resets your life for 8 years. And it's an important redo, reset, rebirth. Okay. Let's bring it into the Aries first. And Aries, you are up. Aries, Aries, Aries. Gonna spin the wheel. Oh, the software is not appreciating me. I'll fix it. I'll be back. Fixed it. All right, Aries. So get the vibe. All right, just the vibe. This is your astrological year ahead. And it looks to me like, first of all, you got an elf king hanging out in Aries. So not too shabby, right? A noble elf king, a good guy. You got your noble elf king. You got an eagle symbol. You know, you're the king of the wind and the clouds and the air and all of that good stuff. So I do vibe out with that. I'm an elf myself. I'm actually not an elf. I'm a fairy queen, but the whole kingdom of Tolkien is there. So you've got a new kind of disposition. But notice this, Aries, it bakes in retrogradation and invisibility of Venus and of Mercury. So if it's your sun, it's your career. If it's your Aries moon, it's your home and nest. And if it's your Aries rising, it's anything about your life as you play this character called Aries in this world. But you know, this could be a situation where matters to do with love, romance, and also matters to do with commerce and communication are in a kind of stasis or slowdown or invisibility, and then they're going to turn around. Now, I can't tell you when they'll turn around, obviously, but I would say probably at the 6 months point, because that would be the midpoint, the opposite point, the pivot. So be patient with this year. Allow for the fact that there will be uncertainty about what direction you should go when it comes to matters of love. For sure, Venus is in deep combustion, burning up in the beams of that sun. So don't think you can figure it necessarily out. Love is invisible, romance is invisible in some fundamental way. Venus in this invisibility happens to be the Lord or the boss of, your second house of financial matters, as well as your house of long-term relationship and commitment. And because of Mercury representing the commercial part of your life, there is regarding money and love matters, a sense of a huge pause or uncertainty or invisibility, or you might be going in a direction that you'll have to change and turn around probably 6 months into the narrative. So keep that in mind. Nothing is certain in the beginning of this journey, that's for sure. So by the time you get to like October, you'll have a lot more certainty on those things. And I want to mention you're feeling very Sagittarian. The moon in Sagittarius, believe me, the moon is in Sagittarius. The software took me ahead by a day. But just trust me, let's move the moon ahead. Let's move ourselves ahead a day. This is happening on the 20th. Wow. The moon in Sagittarius is giving you a spirit of adventure. Like you're all about like, hi ho, it's off to adventure I go. You got a horse underneath you, you're galloping along. You need your solitude. All Sag energy is emotionally solitudinous. You need to be alone when you need to be alone. But what you also know is that life is an adventure. If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room. Leap in the net will appear. These are good mottos for you. With the moon and Sag, you feel very much about the spirit of adventure doth call you. And of course, you're an independent, bold and pioneering Aryan energy. So you're okay with that. Moon means home. Moon falls into the 9th house. Some of you may travel the world, look for a home in a far off place. Maybe become like me, a digital nomad. My landlord gave me the notice she's going to sell the property. I knew that was coming in my astrology. I am not surprised. I was waiting for that. So home can be in another country. Home can be on a digital nomad visa. Home can be in a far off land, but your spirit of adventure is on high steroids. And in fact, this moon is flowing to Aries in a fire trine, and therefore you feel quite good emotionally this year ahead. You also have some spirit of emotional adventure when it comes to long-term committed love and agreements around long-term committed love. This can also benefit you if you're looking for a book publishing contract or deal. A lot of fortune in the house of publishing with that high-spirited moon is of great benefit to you. Do not be afraid to put that book into the, publishing queue and see what comes out of it? What comes out of it? What kind of moon is this? I bet you're asking me. Well, it's not a last quarter moon yet. It was a full moon. It's a waning gibbous moon. It's a shaman moon, right? It's going to come into the sun. So no longer full, losing the light, waning. This is a shaman moon. This is asking you to go deep, to look at what matters, look for the spiritual and the deep meaning of life, not to stay on the surface. The surface will be boring and it will drag you down. You want to feel sort of a sense of profound meaningfulness to everything you're doing. And it's in the Dharma house, which is to align you more deeply with purpose. Of course, it bakes in Mars in the 4th house. You don't need to see a midheaven, and that shouldn't really be there. Baking itself into the 4th house indicates a relocation or change of home for some of you, a cutting, ending, and severing of the home. Simply said, some of you are changing your home. Otherwise, you'll have conflict and fighting and aggression in the home with a fallen Mars. So otherwise, you're going to just change your home. I think that's more likely than not for some of us. And it's really good to bake in a nice Jupiter story, of course, because Jupiter will support you in travel, protect you when you travel, and support you in online social media and digital projects. I could say many things about this for every sign, but one thing I will say for Aries to finish up, you're doing a lot of fiscal hygiene, which is Hygeia in your 2nd house. And that's good. You're really clearing up your books, doing fiscal hygiene, making sure your money is, all aligned. And you're improving your health through your dietary style by letting go, South Node in the 6th house, Hygeia in the second, of things that you ingest that aren't good for you. So there's a real healing around your body regarding your digestive system, food style, etc. Even to the point where some of you may do some medical procedures for your face, given Hygeia, the goddess of healing and medicine, happens to be where your face is sitting. And lastly, if I had one piece of advice, don't make any decisions about long-term committed love or your commercial interests at all until you get past the halfway mark. So we're talking about October, and then you might have a more of a vibe here of having clarity about what that invisible Venus is really hiding from your view until later on in the narrative. I think it went really long for you guys. Now I'm having a hunger attack. Yeah. Well, it could just be a chocolate break, right? Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. First of all, look at that. You're baking in an astrological new year with a lot of freedom and break free and breakthrough and innovation, and Uranian energy kind of parked its ass here with Hephaestus, thunderbolts of Zeus, and Aesculapia. Really good for healing your body. A lot of Tauruses are doing psychological, emotional, and physical well-being, healing work in this astrological new year. Some of you might be letting go of pleasures that don't serve you, that are bad for your physical wellness. South Node in the fifth house of excess pleasures may be deleted and let go of. A stellium falls with invisible Mars and Mercury in your 12th house of solitude and alone time. I'm wondering if you're going to spend a lot of time by yourself trying to contemplate your navel and find the meaning of life. Solitude looks good on you, especially your solitudinous thoughts, journaling, bed pleasures, dreaming. Just go inward. This is a go in or go without energy for Tauruses in this astrological year ahead. The visibility of Venus could be invisible pleasures, right? Like you can't, really get a hold of anything that's really super pleasurable right now. That's okay. This too shall pass. It is a turnaround story. She's going to turn around from retrogradation and invisibility. So just give it some time and be patient. Otherwise, not a bad stellium for spending some extended time in a distant shore, far off land, ashram, retreat, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of support with a lot of fortune as well. Well, no, we won't do the lot of fortune. Let's get rid of that because we don't have an ascendant time. Goodbye. So hold over and back to the sky. So, well, we do, but we don't. So one other thing I want to say, this is a good prosperity year. You can recover money, boost your financial gain, and increase your success and satisfaction in work. And those stories look like, with Apollo, the sun god, in the 10th house with Pluto, a real positive year for career, reputation, and financial matters. That is also, though, fueled from your solitude. And the more alone and introspective time you do spend for yourself, the better those other elements of your life definitely will be. Now, the moon is very much tucked into the 8th house, a very secret and hidden place. The emotional energy, of course, is still Sagittarius, but you really don't see the moon that well. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And so you may be going through some kind of deep inner work to do with your childhood, your past lives. This is soul work. Your moon is very invested in spiritual work, spiritual healing at some level. With Juno there, you might be working through spiritual healing, but also some situations with your long-term love relationships, if you have them, where you're working to restore something. We do have some storms there, right? We've got the Cetas there, and this could be some storms in your long-term committed love stories. If you have one, everyone doesn't have a long-term already existent love story. With us, this Juno of legal agreements and contracts here, she is trining the sun, and the sun rules your 4th house. So there's a possibility of some long-term agreements and contracts to do with legacy wealth, inheritances, father figures in the life of a Taurus native. Maybe also agreements regarding property, land, and real estate, purchasing, buying, and selling. There's a bit of a water trine, and it's got some tempestuousness to it. So be careful that your friendship circles and your main squeeze marriage relationship and your local friendships don't suffer from some of the storm gods aligned with this chart, especially having that stellium of Typhon in the marriage house and a fallen Mars in the 3rd house. I think relationships could be turbulent. I think time alone can help you restore your own sense of wellness. I think you need to go off to your own inner ashram of some sort and spend more creative time, contemplative time, and pay attention to your dreams. Get a dream journal. It's important. This is your time to go inward in the next year. I'm going to pause and get chocolate. All right. So this is not an affiliate link. I love this chocolate. This is the brand I can't not get enough of. Brother sister team in Italy. Ah, so good. So good. All right. So I had some avocado, a bit of feta cheese, and a chocolate bar to sustain me today. Moving on, guys. We're talking about the next sign, which is Gemini. So if you're a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, of course, you're baking in that astrological new year with Jupiter in Gemini. So you've got still a good year of luck baked in for 1 year. And your emotional comportment is Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius is a part of your sky. This connected Geminis to the main squeeze across the way, your husband, your main long-term committed monogamous partnership person. And so there's a lot of emotional energy over there, which may not be yours. And it's an interesting placement because it can mean that your emotions are actually over there belonging to the other person. And therefore, maybe you're mirroring back, the other person and their emotions a lot. It's kind of a weird placement. Partly, the moon here can mean your mother will be more important to you, and to her health in the setting place could be a challenge. So mother's health or your own mother relationship suddenly featured or highlighted at a more important level than normal. However, Juno bakes into the marriage house and there's some storms there. And if you are with Cetus there, Ceto, and if you are the storms and the hurricanes and the monsters under the sea or whatever, if you have anything going on in your marriage that looks not stable because you've got someone already and there's all of this intensity there may be some storms there in the year ahead with a significant long-term committed partnership. Is trying to commit, is trying to find a vow. The moon is the shaman moon looking at life through the lens of death and rebirth and the energies of the preciousness and the fragility of life and all those kinds of things. Would tell you to also pay attention here to the likely change of home. South Node bakes a whole year into your fourth house. This means letting go, releasing, or surrendering one's home or homestead or homeland. And so you got that coming up as well. The North Node is expanding your career success. You might do well. You might expand your reach, your worldly success, your career gains are on the uprise. However, with Saturn, some of you could also go out in style. That is almost like at the highest part of the sky, Saturn decides to let go because he's at the top already. Some of you may resign, quit, retire, or change as well from a peak of success, your career, but still expand your success. I kind of want to mention with that invisible Venus problem up there, you may have some invisibility with your friendship circles and even some of your career gains, maybe a timeout, a change of direction in the way you create your career gains, but also maybe a turning around or changing of direction regarding some of your friendship groups and circles, your tribes of belonging. And maybe the invisible Venus can be like an invisible friendship. And that could literally mean that you're going to be maybe moving away from some friends. And therefore, the idea of friendship being burned up in the sun and invisible and retrograde, it's a lot. I mean, surely, yes, friends from the past could be emerging out of the woodwork for you in the year ahead. Yeah, old friends coming back out of the blue, a tighter relationship with a sibling one older as it goes in a new direction. But I think this is combust, and there's an incineration around friendship. So you're going to have some friends incinerating in your life, so to speak, in that fiery part of your chart, basically coming to an end perhaps in your life. Closing out chapters with different friendships and social groups and social circles. Now, when it comes to the sort of energy of storms and watching out for them, that Scorpio 6th house energy, Typhon, sea monsters, and all of that creepy things under the sea. Remember, we talked about this and Deucalion, the flood and Noah. That's your work house. It can be your health, and your health matters as well. But Jupiter is protecting your physical body. So yes, if you have a health storm, you'll be fine. But I would say a lot of this can also be changed by dietary style. Mars is fallen in the house of food and what you ingest, and is dog paddling in the Cancer pond. So you can definitely make some big changes in your health through dietary shifts as well. I think that with this stormy energy in the workspace, If you're employed, it's stormy there. There's a lot of maybe turbulence and the seas are churning. Typhon is there. What else? Oh yeah, we won't. Well, Dziewanna is there too, which is also a very good indication of a greater approach to your health. So you're really focused on better health as a Gemini, but also some storms will appear in your work situation. And you might have to ride the waves of those. With a fallen Mars in the second house, example would be a decrease of income. Will you recalibrate something important to you? Because you might be making new long-term and long-range goals and plans and stepping down a little bit from the thrust of high-powered work. You do have Athena, the goddess of authorship, in the house of book publishing. So an example would be taking some time away from work, perhaps to spend some time on a manuscript, or to travel overseas, or to find yourself removing yourself from one home to find another, and maybe taking some time off this year from some work. Okay. Some of you may like decrease your earnings in order to recalibrate your long range plans and goals in this astrological year ahead. A lot of your health challenges come from your own self undoing, according to this chart. That's 12th house stuff. So by being more aware of how you are your own worst enemy for physical wellness, you are going to shift your wellness story in this astrological 12 months ahead. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, you're feeling very Sagittarian in your emotional comportment, but those emotions at that shaman moon are focused on sixth house matters. So Cancers, you're focused on work, you're focused on debts and eliminating debts, paying back debts. You're focused on energies to do with pets. And you're focused on the energy of your own physical wellness as well, your own body and its physical health. Certainly with Mars here, there could be inflammation. You're baking in a whole year of Mars parching the waters. So stay hydrated, pay attention to physical health elements, and look for solutions. I do think you'll find them. But Mars can mean rashes, heat, fevers, autoimmune conditions, and in the water, parching, drying out your skin, maybe. I mean, if I could say anything, moisturize, hydrate, and humidify yourself, and kind of bake in a Mars issue, right? That's the vibe for your health. And I'm bringing up the health, of course, because the moon is in the house of health and seems to want to focus on that part of your life and look at that from a very serious perspective, perhaps. Like you got a lot of the Ceto there, the fear of the sea monsters under the ocean. What scary things are underneath there? Dragons and floaty doties and creepy things. And so some of this is also emotional fears about your health that may not be real, that may just be coming up because of the moon is how we emote and feel about things as well. What I do like about your chart is baking in that beautiful energy of Venus at the top of the sky. And although she is combust the sun, and although she is retrograde and invisible, and I like her there because she's going to turn around. And so there's almost like a pause or a quiet or an invisibility around career objectives and career goals. But you just know Elf King is up there, that this is going to be a turnaround story. So what is offline will come back online here. And same with Mercury, commercial matters or making money. A lot of that's going to be an off and then back on again story. A turnaround is in the mix here. And I wouldn't be surprised if you already know what it means, that you're taking some time off or time out of some career work objectives as you recalibrate something there. Kind of feeling like with that storm energy in the fifth house, one of your children, if you have children, may be going through some stormy seas and some challenges with Typhon there. Or if you're in a romantic relationship, and it doesn't have to be long-term and committed, any romantic relationship could end up being in some turbulent storms as well. So some stormy seas for your children, your relationship to them, or their lives in general. And of course, romance. To find the celibate single priestess vibe in the fifth house could mean that those of you in relationships, your Martian water pistols pointing at the house of long-term love, and you may be extricating yourself from the stormy seas of a relationship with a sort of timeout and a celibacy corner. What are you letting go of? Maybe your neighborhood, maybe your neighbors, maybe you're going to release them, baking in a year of surrender and release around connection to neighbors, neighborhood, cousins, siblings, aunts and uncles. And a younger sibling, one younger than you, could be going through some health challenges or challenges in general during this baked in astrological year ahead. Looking at lawyers and finances and sun god energy in the house of chunky money, investments, long range monies, retirement monies. You're being strategic. You're looking at the long game legally, and you're shining a big solar light there to figure things out. That includes money you share with your spouse and how you want to use those monies in your life. Last thing I want to tell you is that perhaps this bakes in a year in which you're going to find yourself learning something new. And that's going to inform the work you do in the world. Taking like a little bit of a time out there with Jupiter in the 12th house, angular to the two learning houses, 3 and 9. Some of you will go back to school or decide to learn or study something so that you can then reboot yourself in a career direction that's new and fresh and positive. So in the astrological year ahead, the 12 months ahead from this chart, it looks to me like a lot of Leos are going to find themselves with an emotional vibration of Sagittarius moon, which is you're looking for your joy, your inspiration, your fun, your play, your innocence, and your pleasure in life. Single Leos with Juno in the house of committed love and the moon will find themselves engaging in a brand new, perhaps new long-term committed love story. Also, there's some sea monsters there. There's Ceto with that. So you may be having to deal with your fears around long-term committed love and romantic love and look under the waters and face those monsters and face those fears. But Juno is pretty well wanting to help you find a committed love story if you don't have one already. The shaman moon allows for a deeper dive into romantic intimacy beyond the surface, especially with a stellium in the 8th house. We're not talking about recreational sex. We're talking about deep connections here in long-term committed love. Now, you do have the energy here baked in of the sort of invisible Venus in the 9th house. And, the moon and Venus are flowing to your Leo fire. So be okay with it. But father figures in particular with hidden or invisible agendas or problems, including health problems. It can look like a father figure with a health challenge. It doesn't get diagnosed till Venus becomes visible. So turns around, or Mercury becomes visible and turns around and goes direct and visible again. So if you have a father figure, young or old, I don't care, tell them to get their health checks regularly, because you may not see the problem until later when Venus and Mercury are both visible again. And with Mars squaring that stellium from the house of hospitals, we're back at the same story. So I say also travel. Go off on an adventure internationally. Mars and the stellium in the 9th house support that. But remember, with Venus retrograde and combust, the goddess of pleasure and beauty, and Mercury, the protector of travelers on the road, you need to understand that if you're going to travel, I think the turnaround story is like 6 months out from the April story, where long range in the long term, you can be very, very surprised by beautiful things that happen through long distance travel. And that includes finding a new love story and romance blossoming because of somebody you meet while you're journeying abroad and having international adventures. For you single Leos, for you ones who are already married, well, you've got Pluto, Apollo, and Athena. Your partner in crime, your significant other, might be having an increase of positive success in their own life, reaching new heights of career success or positive developments in the world of their own aspirations. That would look good on them. And Jupiter, you get lots of benefits, lots of luck, and lots of appreciation from your sibling, one older, or from friends, allies, and networks of people who wish to support you. You've got a lot of fairy godmothers and fathers who've got your back in this next year ahead. Astrological New Year. Hey, what happens if you are a Virgo, sun, moon, and rising? Well, first of all, you're very picky, First of all, tidy, picky, and of service. What happens in the astrological new year? Well, first of all, it looks like you've got to look at the moon in the home and the nest in the 4th house. Now, this can be really good for a contractual agreement to secure a new home, especially with the flow to the stellium in the 8th house. And your emotional comportment is about the nest. You want to be in a deeper quietude in the midnight hour in the nest of the home for comfort and ease. And you can use your quiet home life energy in order for that to be true. You may be looking at some monsters from your childhood, some unresolved trauma from your childhood, especially around sexual, or I hate to say it, it's probably, what do you call it? trigger alerts, but any kind of ancestral or personal family stories that have to do with impropriety sexually, because Venus is in the house of that kind of stuff. And now she's invisible, so invisible and hidden secrets about your family of origin and stories to do with your own childhood and the ancestors may be revealed to you once Venus turns around and becomes visible. So you might be finding information that you didn't know you needed to know becoming available, coming to light. Challenges with perhaps challenges with the health of a father figure can lead to some delays in receiving inheritance money or legacy wealth. Yet over the course of time, those monies will be made available to you. You could also say that money you share with a significant other, and that's your seventh house where Saturn is baking in, the desire to make the relationship enduring and solid and lasting and increase the success of an existing relationship, that there may be some interesting changes in the direction around the shared monies and resources that you have with your significant other, some new ways to do things with that money. There may be also a desire to purchase a new home or sell a home, and it is in relationship to you and a significant other as well. But because of it, invisible Venus, there will be delays and unseen variables that can get in the way of that happening. So time will have to tell the true tale. I say in general, wait for 6 months to pass. And then those things to do with property, sale, home and purchase, shared monies with a spouse or significant other become more clear and you know which direction to go in. Your career is lucky. Oh my gosh, until next April. March, I mean, you're lucky as hell. Jupiter bakes in direct motion at the midpoint of your career house. So that's good to go. Some of your friends are leaving. You're leaving them. You're cutting some ties with friends that no longer fit who you are. Those are your larger groups of friends, the ones that don't matter as much to you. You may have some major changes regarding your situation with a sibling one younger, but also in regards to neighbors and neighborhood situations. And with this Scorpio Typhon storms, or maybe some storms, with aunts, uncles, cousins, the neighbors, some conflicts and some stormy seas ahead. Whoo! Like I was a little bit of a tempestuous mess there, but it could be very literal because you've got, Noah there flooding in your neighborhood. You may end up in a neighborhood with a lot of water problems, flooding. And I know we can go tsunamis and cyclones and hurricanes. Sorry, Virgos, but that's what I'm seeing as a possible problem for you in the next year ahead, especially with a fallen Mars. Yeah. Okay. That's what I've got. This is just an overview. This is just the zeitgeist, right? A gist of it all. Last bit of advice, really, if you don't want to be tossed about the seas of stormy childhood trauma or secrets from the past from your ancestors and stuff, then go ahead and be proactive. I mean, look under the surface yourself and go into more of a spiritual quest about unresolved issues in your own childhood. That would be more proactive than letting unresolved secrets or family trauma come to the surface for you to deal with out of the blue. So ask your mom and dad and figure it out and go diving a little more deeply into your childhood and what unresolved junk is in your trunk there. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, obviously, this is a temporary story. It only lasts a year, but we're baking in themes for your year ahead. Your emotional comportment, moon and Sag, adventure, hi ho, especially regarding writing, communicating, traveling, social media engagements, pilgrimages. Moon is talking to Jupiter. So you got a lot of stories going on there. Some of you may want to publish a book, spend some time abroad, travel quite a lot this year. Some of you may have golden opportunities coming to you for financial gain, coming from foreign places and foreign shores. That could be very powerfully impacting your career as well. Your house of your work, your sixth house of work itself has that enduring Saturnian, the tortoise wins the race, take it at a pace that works for you, right? You got that going. But you also see that the second house has some seething seas of sea monsters there. And so there's almost like a question going on in your chart about your work and your money and the long range, long game strategy you wish to implement here. With Pluto, with Apollo and Athena, book publishing, authorship, entrepreneurship. If you are a Libra who's been pondering and getting into an entrepreneurial gig, yes, do it. There are delays because Venus is participating from the seventh house of clients and audience Yes, and she's invisible and she's combust and she's burning up and she needs to turn around. So wait about 6 months from March and then begin to look at investigating entrepreneurial breakout businesses, changing your tactic with your clients and audience and stuff. With Venus combust in the house of long-term committed business and love partners, there may be some problems in your relationship in the beginning of this year, the first 6 months after this March timeframe. So there may be like an invisibility of love, an invisibility of communion and connection, uh, and some burning energies there, like a electrical fire or something. And you're trying to heal your relationship to relationship, right? Chiron is there. Your partner is just a catalyst for that. They're not the problem. So you may be overly focused on your significant other if they are burning up with the love beams, the sun under the beams here. And you may be trying to help them, but be careful. You need to take care of yourself. This is business partners and love partners. Don't commit to any business partnership agreements. I don't think I would do that. I'd wait 6 months out. We want to get the energy of the archetype turnaround of an invisible Venus. You will not see everything, especially Mercury retrograde and also burning up under the beams. You can't see the fine print. You don't know what you're agreeing to. Wait it out. Any partnerships or any legal contracts or agreements, do not sign on dotted lines. Wait. And that includes agreements around severance packages with work. Mars is cutting through your 10th house. If you want to quit your job or leave your job and they want you to sign something, maybe wait. Same with starting a new job. Wait, or if not, get a lawyer eye on it. Double check the fine print. Oh, you guys can change your health for sure. Vestal flame of cooking at home in the house of what you put in your mouth, connected to your stellium, and you're fortifying your health by, doing some really good dietary health matters. No processed foods for you. This is home cooking. It's like, yes, you are going to shift your dietary style. That's what I'm getting there. I wonder if all that stormy energy in the earnings house, though, I'm going to go back to one thing, is because Mars is quitting a job. Mars rules your second house and he's cutting through, falling from the sky. You get fired or you quit a job and it may temporarily give you financial storms. That's all. But things will come out well in the end because of that enduring Saturn energy. Your hard work will pay off. And yeah, there may be some temporary financial distress this year for some of you because of job fluctuations. Maybe you're fired, you quit, the job quits you. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Wow, what a year you have ahead. This is going to be you in an ingress chart, giving us a stamp of the next 12 months. First of all, your emotional comportment is to think about life through the lens of your earnings, your money, and your possessions, as well as your dietary style. A little bit of fear. Sea monsters are there. You're not sure, but I do like the fact that the moon is also connected to Juno, and that could mean some kind of changes in your earnings connected to contracts, agreements, and partnership energies as well. And that energy flows to a stellium in your sixth house of livelihood and work and job. And for you, it looks like you may be absolutely doing financially well, but delays or invisible variables. So wait till about 6 months out, right, to October kind of thing, September, October, when you get a lot more clarity around money, agreements, partnerships, contracts, words, job, and career. I think you're going to have a turnaround story here. Things are kind of like lackluster and chironic woundedness to the work you're doing in the world. And then there's a kind of midpoint turning around and things start to look a lot better. There's some storms in your identity. You're not sure who you want to be, what you want to be. There's floods and sea monsters and Noah's Ark. You have to rescue yourself. You have to be your own best ally. You have to tend a sacred flame to your body and your health. These are must-dos in this next year ahead. There is possibly the problem of your partner also having challenges in their health. Was a lot of health energy in the house of a significant other. And also there are some thunderbolts of Zeus there as well. So watch for your significant main partner. Their health could be something to be focused on. Otherwise, the health of the relationship needs to be tended to. You may come into money. Pluto is in the legacy wealth house with Apollo, a father figure or a sun god. Legal matters being addressed with property, land, real estate, mortgages, and either buying or selling, but also again, chunky money. And again, maybe from a legacy factor, a father figure, money coming to you from somewhere else. It's not money that you're working to make, it's money that's showing up anyway. If you have children, and some of you do, you've got the North Node Saturn baked in there. And I want to just bring that up is because all that storm god is like, are you focused on emotional storms because your children are having problems, or because you're just overly emo about your children or about having children? Are you tossing on the seas of uncertainty about having a child? Maybe your partner wants one, maybe you're not sure. Those are examples of things I could see in the chart of a Scorpio at this time. Well, it's a mixed bag, but long distance travel to far off foreign shores can be a good thing, but Mars is fallen and storm gods are happening. So I would just say this. This is the kind of chart where you go off on a foreign adventure and you happen to park your butt in the one place where the hurricane lands. So are you physically safe? Yes, you're fine. But just know that it could be metaphorical travel storms or it could be literal travel storms, especially if it's romantic or leisure travel, or travel with or for to see your children or with your children. Like, watch for stormy outcomes in travel. It's not the smoothest part of the sky in the year ahead. March to March, right? Yeah. Oh, guys, I'm losing my voice again. I talked client this morning, client after this. I don't know. I might have to go on a voice hiatus. I do a lot of talking. All right, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. First of all, the moon falls into your sign and you are becoming very lunar in this year ahead. That means your intuition will be heightened. You'll be focused on self-care and self-nurturance. You'll be focused on the nest. You want to know where the nest is. You're looking inward at your own inner demons under the sea, and you're looking more deeply at the possibility of a long-term committed love story and wondering if you have demons to attend to about whether you want to commit to some long-term love, or an existing marriage may be under peril and you're not sure you want to keep the commitment going, and you're looking at your inner demons around this question. Now, you also have a shaman moon, which you're looking at the world through the lens of life and death and rebirth. You got a very heavy shamanic vibe going on. What I like about this year, however, is the stellium of planets in the fifth house, romantic and sexual love. Now, invisible Venus incinerated, it doesn't mean that, does it? But it means there's turnarounds here because she will become a direct motion visible planet after this. So there's some feeling that maybe one relationship could burn and a new one could rise. There's also the expression here of, what you don't see can hurt you. Invisible Venus in the house of romantic love with the chironic wound and invisible information, Mercury. There may be some shocking secrets, Mars in the eighth house, regarding the existing love story, and unknown details like a hidden lover or secret love, betrayals. I hate to say that, but some of you Sagittarius are going to go through this in the next 12 months. Jupiter is justice and fairness and truth, but he's also just like, he can bring you the end of a relationship for your highest and best good. If you're single, of course, it's different. You have delays, you have invisible Venus, but you have a trine from that moon. And you may be coming into a very powerful new relationship this year. But again, some of you will end one and begin another. I kind of want to say that your health is a priority. It's time to take care of yourself. You have Hygeia and Asclepius in the house of your health. And it's a time for you to really focus for yourself on what you want to do to improve your physical well-being. For a lot of you, those tempestuous storms and the floods of Noah in the 12th house, that's also looking at your own self-undoing and addiction and really squaring away with that, becoming more of a sacred, devoted temple priestess to your health. Now, foreign lands and foreign shores and flooding, right? Far off distant lands and shores are baked into the chart. Some of you may end up on journeys in which you encounter flood zones, basically. But for the most part, it's very interior. I see a lot of Sagittarius is becoming way, way more focused on their physical health. Not that there's always a problem. Maybe you just want to improve your health, right? Saturn rules what you put in your mouth. He's in the home. Pay attention to, eat local. Create better health from the garden goddess. Eat local, eat nutritional, cook at home, these kinds of things. For Sages who have a desire to improve your health, Ceres is saying food is medicine, nutritional medicine, poultices and herbs, and things that grow nearby. And you can improve your health that way. Lastly, I want to mention that there may be some fighting over shared assets with a business or love partner in this next 12 months. There may be some storms about who gets a sofa, who gets a dog, that kind of thing, or business partner lawsuits around shared money. Be cautious for that. You're pulling away from your reputation, and that includes the house of weddings and marriage. In other words, I was married, I'm divorced, I was single, I'm alone, blah, blah, blah. I was, a superpowered success story. Now I'm not. So you're changing your identity in the eyes of the world. You're focused on yourself in the home. You're renewing and reinventing yourself in the midnight hour. In the midnight hour. Is that a Billy Crystal song? All right, so I got to take another chocolate dip here. Capricorns, let's get into your year ahead astrological new year forecast. Sorry, if I don't get some chocolate, I think I'm going to faint. I had yogurt and some nuts for breakfast, but I realized now that was hours ago. Oh, sorry, guys. And I'm an intermittent faster, so. First things first. The moon is in isolation. Your emotions are in the ashram. Your home, moon, could be in a foreign land. Your home is in a place of solitude. You have sea monsters with the goddess of committed marriage and love. Well, the moon is alone at home. I don't know what you're doing, but you're looking like you need emotional solitude for satisfaction in the 12 months ahead. With Mars cutting through the marriage house and the committed love house, this is saying that your alone time may be more important than time spent with a significant other. Mother in the hospital, maybe for some of you, if you have a mother who's with us. You have a stellium in your third house and your fourth house and your fifth house. Let's talk about some of these asteroids and stories. Well, number one, no, let me go back to something else. Working opportunities from foreign lands, foreign people, and foreign shores bring luck and renewed income and financial success. Your money connected to work opportunities is on the increase. However, Venus being invisible as the ruler of your 10th house suggests delays, hidden variables, and turnarounds around money, work, and career. That could take up to 6 months from this particular ingress chart for that to be a visible opportunity for you. But Venus is also invisible in the fourth house of the home, as well as Mercury. Love, companionship, friendship in the home is invisible and burning up. However, there is a turnaround, of course, because it embeds in a flip-flop energy from retrograde to direct, from invisible to visible. But it could end up looking like moving away from a relationship, separating out from the same home as someone you live with, or some sort of delays as something has to die for it to be reborn again. If you want to live in a home where there's friendship, love, ease, and beauty, there are delays, basically. You may have some health challenges. No, your children, one of your children may have health challenges. Okay. Or there may be some sexual health challenges, reproductive health challenges, sexual health challenges for you or your significant other, but either one in the story here over the course of the next year. And that includes challenges to the health of one of your children. However, I think it will work out in the long run. all those stormy seas are in the 11th house. And this is a house that you have long range goals and dreams. And you've got a bunch of typhons and storms and sea monsters and flooding Noah's Ark. You want to create a new world, a better place, but it's in the house of your long range dreams and goals. It's in the house of your friends, allies, and benefactors, sibling one older. And it's in the part of the chart that represents your income and earnings from your career. So there's this like kind of like a sea god storm going on up there with floods and an ark to preserve things. It's not the easy part of your sky. You may have a major storm with a sibling one older. Friendship circles. Things in your local neighborhood and domestic travel are favored for you in the year ahead, whereas long distance and foreign travel is less so. Just keep that in mind as well. And finally, you're healing that chironic wound about where your true home is. And I do feel like once Venus is visible, like hypothetically, you could find a beautiful true home. And yet, time, it's all about time. And my suspicion is that the baking in of the incinerated Venus could indicate significant time delays for you. Particularly, I'll give it minimum of 6 months for you to be able to clarify where you belong and where your real home should be. I am one of you, Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. The first thing we see here is that our emotional comportment is connected to our career gains. We are boldly adventurous in how we earn money. We may be business partnering up with others in order to do that. We may also be very emotionally invested in social groups of networks, tribe, and friendship circles. And we might need to look under the hood at some of our fears and the sea monsters that exist regarding how we are in those friendships and how we are committed or not to those larger groups of friends and belonging. Now, that lunation is also flowing to a stellium in the sign of Aries. And I will say that that could be very, very successful energy for business partners and career gains connected to writing, communicating, social media, and online presence, as well as marketing and selling. And this could be like a dynamic duo energy, perhaps, with the way this lines up, where you and another person form some kind of really significant commitment together, career, business wise, online, perhaps. And it could be very fortunate for both. Because you also have Apollo in Aquarius with Athena, authorship is indicated as a potential outcome. Apollo is leader and sun god. And with Pluto, of course, you're all very, we're all of the Aquariuses are very Plutonian right now. And this energy can really, really look good on you if you want to aspire to some energetic capacity to be a leader, to be a sun god. To lead others in some way. With Jupiter in your fifth house of entrepreneurship, of course, that indicates success there. Also bakes in the possibility of one of your children becoming pregnant, or you becoming pregnant, or your partner becoming pregnant. But you're pregnant and with creativity, procreativity, fertility. It's baked in. The sun god's flowing to Jupiter. By being creative, you're a leader. By being entrepreneurial, you're a leader, that kind of thing. Major changes to your health, but it's flowing and it's easy. It looks like new exercise routines and disciplines. Mars may also have you exit certain features of your work. There's a lot of storms in your 10th house of reputation, floods, storms, sea monsters, etc. But you're tending a sacred flame in the water. So you've got a gasoline spill and you lit it up and you're in this stormy water and you've got a flame that's trying to burn. So there's storms in the career and reputation space, but you're burning a sacred flame amongst the stormy waters anyway. Mars is definitely dog paddling like a crazy man. You may overwork. Be careful for burnout. This is classic for Mars fallen in the workhouse. He's paddling up a storm and he's trining Saturn in your second house of earnings. You're dog paddling to make money and you're doing it and it works. but this could compromise your physical wellness. So be careful for health problems. The ticket to your success is dietary change. Stellium in the second house of what you put in your mouth. Ceres, poultices, herbs, herbal medicine, food is medicine, right? There's a shift in dietary style. And Mars is also saying swimming. Go swimming, get in the lap pool, or do Tai Chi or Qigong or something where your body moves in a flowing way in order for your health to improve as well. Now, because you've got a bunch of planets in the fourth house with shock and awe Uranus, there may be some unexpected changes regarding where you live, or if you already know you're going to live nomadic or disruptive or unpredictable home life energy. You may also be very, very much tending the flame of wellness in the home in the midnight hour with Hygeia and Asclepius. Things you're doing in and from your home, your nest, your midnight hour are tending to better health. And of course, that is what Mars wants as well as Saturn. So you're really lined up for improving your health from in and around and about things you're doing in the home. If you're a writer, there are delays in getting your writing projects accomplished. Mercury is retrograde in the house of writing and combust, but they will turn around. Be patient. Again, minimum, I think, 6 months for this energy to become more available. Yet an invisible Mercury, invisible Venus in the third house can be really about like underground seeds that haven't sprouted, things that are coming into fruition but are still in the sort of 0 point field, in the dream time, waiting to emerge, waiting to become visible. So be patient with your creative projects, your online projects, your writing and teaching projects. Things are invisible. You may take a time out from writing, teaching, online, social media. That could be why this is baking in here. And if you're in a long-term committed love story, well, you've got a lot of travel indicated in order for that relationship to be working. All right. So I see a lot of travel connected to long-term love but then the invisible Venus, right? The invisible Venus activates the idea. I mean, you get this set up every year, but it's the invisible Venus. Mercury's the Lord of travel. And that's why I talked about traveling. He's a protector of travelers. He likes to travel, but he's invisible. I kind of think it's more like stalled travel, really, and turning around later about 6 months into the storyline. All right, that's what I got for you. Woo! Last and never least is a Pisces sun, moon, and rising. Now, some people think I give other signs like, oh, Leo and Capricorns are often complaining. I can't imagine that. I mean, my sister's a Leo, but what we're doing here is we're addressing in my astrology what is actually happening for your sign. Some signs are having a lot of action in the sky. Some signs are having less action. So when it's your turn and eclipses are going through Leo or Capricorn, for example, believe me, you're getting a lot of attention from me. So don't get all gnarly in the comments about it. All right. Just like relax. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. You can't live your life on bell curve astrology, guys. Get a reading with a good astrologer. This is general entertainment, edutainment. Whew. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. I get grumpy the longer I go. Sorry, Pisces. I love you guys. Thank you for your patience. Well, first of all, this is a moon wedged into Sag, and that's your 10th house. Emotional comfort, satisfaction, and delight, preoccupation with emotional contentment through career matters. So now you're focused on being successful because this is a moon, right? That's up there in the height of the sky, commanding attention from the house of earnings, where you have a stellium. So long story short, you are literally thinking about how you can be more financially viable, increase your financial wellness, heal your chironic wound around money by focusing on a job that brings you a sense of a high-spirited adventure, hope, and optimism. But also what you know, maybe business partnerships. Maybe you're going to collide and collaborate with somebody else. You don't have to do this alone. Your moon is also with goddess of marriage in a house of high noon with a south node in the 7th house squaring it. There may be some emotional stories going on about your long-term love relationship and letting go, releasing and surrendering if you have one. Otherwise, you could meet a new soulmate and everyone knows you're together. You're the new Brad and Angelina of the sky. So stories are there. You have to look under the hood at some of your sea monsters connected to commitment in business and love relationships. And how do you want to make a commitment to something something that's important to your own success and looking under the hood at what you're afraid to commit to. I mean, sorry, but you're a mutable sign and you're one of the flip-floppers, on and off, up and down, in and out. But I can see announcings of separations and divorces as much as uniting and coming together being a big deal for you in this year ahead, March to March. There may be separation from a child because of Mars baking into the fifth house. It may be moving away from home. You may be moving away from them. There may be some kind of emotional distance with a child. For some reason, they might just be growing up and graduating out, but something like emotional distance from existing children could be a part of the story. You're stoic, stern, and you're sturdy. You're looking like a Saturn energy. You want to make things real and your dreams real as well. And your health is best procured through herbal medicine, nutrition, and food as medicine, but you're also looking at, with Saturn and the Grim Reaper-S, at what you want to cut, end, and sever. And Pisces, a lot of that's focused on your marriage house and business partners, ending long-term committed loves and business marriages. Yeah, cut, sever, sickle, scythe, end. Some of you may be going in that direction, especially squaring Juno in the 10th house, as you announce to the world you're no longer married or living together, or you're engaging in legal separation. One thing I will say with Jupiter in your fourth house baked in, you're lucky when it comes to home. You can be prosperous and wealthy from your home, and you're lucky when it comes to matters to do with property, real estate, and home in general. And you could procure a larger home, a more spacious home, a better home, a more joyful home. Jupiter's opposite Juno. That can indicate he's opposite his wife, that you get a better home because you're fighting or separating from a spouse, right? Just saying. Now, you got invisibility in that money house. Mercury's there as well. There's just something about the money story that looks like it's kind of, you have to wait for things to burn up, for things to begin again. Venus Mercury is the god of the marriage house. Yeah. And the house of home and real estate. And Venus is the lord of the chunky money shared with a spouse. For some of you, there's some kind of financial means to connect with business or marriage partnerships in a kind of turnaround story. I think endings, severings, but also delays. There's some eruptions and explosive energies in the life of a sibling, one younger than you, or in the life of an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, or nephew, or somebody in the neighborhood. That's a Uranus energy with the thunderbolts of Zeus there, the Hephaestus forge smith. However, if you're somebody who engages in writing, communicating, and social media, you can have some really big success. Something can go viral, or you can really begin to take off here with some really strong strength in that area for writing, communicating, marketing, selling, and online world stuff. And health and healing are there as well. Hygeia and Asclepius. You may profoundly heal a relationship to a sibling, one younger, aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, sibling, all of those extended kinfolk. Now, the storms are in the ninth house. That's far off foreign shores and lands. That's book publishing. There are storms and sea monsters and energy up in the ninth house that's flowing to you. I'll give you that. But legal storms as well. That's the ninth house of courts and legal matters. So some legal storms afoot, some needs to secure the boat and rescue the animals and get everybody on board because there's some sea monsters and cyclones up in the legal house for you. And with the South Node in the seventh house, some of those are about legal contractual agreement, separating, ending, and letting go in business and love relationships. If I had this chart, which I don't, and I wanted to be successful in my work and make some money and do well, I wouldn't be afraid of being more entrepreneurial. I know Mars has fallen in the fifth house. I get that, but he's still in a flowing energy to you, and Saturn, and hard work in creative or entrepreneurial self-directed business endeavors will pay off, right? Will pay off because Saturn is watching over that situation. And so for some of you, instead of getting a job, become your own creator of a job, really. That could look good on you in the next 12 months. Really good on you. That's what I have for you. And I have to roll. I have a client in 3 minutes. Bye, everyone. Have an interesting year ahead in the Aries Ingress chart of 24 to 25, March to March. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Ciao, ciao.